Hey, great day, everybody. Welcome to another incredible episode of the Gale Show. I'm Matthew Britt. Extremely excited about our interview today. Here, as always, with my good friend and brother, Mr. Gale. Great to see you, my friend.
You too, Matthew. And for everybody out there, we're going to change the name to Seeds of Abundance because that's what we're all about. We're all about planting seeds. Seeds are ideas, and then there's seeds like this mulberry tree that my daughter and it's only been in the ground for 2 years. And my daughter and I have probably picked 1,000 mulberries off of this tree. So that's what
Wow.
we're all about. Isn't that cool? We come out for about 2 months straight and we would get just handfuls and handfuls of mulberries once or twice a day. Now it's pretty well picked over, but there's a few other mulberry trees on the property that are just loaded. In fact, they're so loaded that we're going to take an old bed sheet and we're going to put it down underneath the mulberry tree and we're just going to shake the branches and we'll get a bucket of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and the just astounds me now after being here for 3 years with Food Forest Abundance and having no prior knowledge or experience with permaculture, and how much different my view is on the missed opportunities that homeowners have to be planting edible plants on their property in place of the ornamentals that everybody's got that really produce no value for them. And I just look around my neighborhoods, and as I'm driving, I just see so much missed opportunity. So I love the simplicity of what we have going on, and also the massive opportunity to help people really shift their consciousness around planting food producing plants all over their property and what can be done with that.
Yep.
Well, today's guest is someone I've been really excited to speak with. I came across him actually through another one of our abundance ambassadors. He had mentioned Brandon and his website, OneStupidf, and it just immediately caught my attention. Went over there, started going through his material, and just loved the approach that he's taken to really kind of push people away who aren't really ready for what his message is and what he has to deliver. Brandon Joe Williams of OneStupidf and Williams Law Group. Great to have you on the show, my man.
Hey guys, thank you very much.
So great to have you here. Thank you for making time today.
Yeah, thank you.
So as we get started here, why don't you first just tell everybody a little bit about you, where they can find you, and what you're doing now to help the world realize they can break some very important contracts with the corporations of the government.
Yeah, so I was being attacked. I took over a landscaping company, and I was being attacked by the Employment Development Department, and we got an ambulance here in the background. And and the EDD was coming after me, and so I decided to I wanted to do something about it because they were trying to wipe me out. They were trying to hit me with this huge bill. So it's a long story, but basically I ended up kind of getting into all this stuff and trying to figure out what the hell do I do to fix this problem. And because I went to a few lawyers and accountants and they told me to just make a payment plan. And I said, make a payment plan. Make a payment plan for what? This is ridiculous. What the hell? Make a payment plan. Why don't I just pay the mafia extortion fees? And it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that led me down this whole rabbit hole, and then I ended up creating private trusts and putting all my assets in private trusts, and then now we run all of our businesses as trusts. So we don't really have businesses anymore. So it's like it's do you have a business? No. Do you have employees? No. So what are they? And it's like, well, they're not trustees and they're not employees by definition. So I call them performers. So I have performers now. And I am the trustee of a trust, which is not a business or trade. So that changes everything because now it's an entirely different legal structure. Like, for example, just recently we had a local HOA was like, hey, we want you to fill out this W-9 form. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I'm not a U.S. citizen. The other guy's not a U.S. citizen, and the trust is not a U.S. citizen. I said, and they go, oh, what are you talking about? and I said, well, it's a foreign trust. I said, we wouldn't actually fill out a W-9. we would actually fill out what's called a W8EXP form. And they're like, we've never heard of that. And I was like, most people haven't. So it's an interesting situation, but now the EDD, I mean, the EDD couldn't do anything to us if they had, you know, all the time and all the money and all the lawyers in the world. So it's a very freeing, it's a very, very nice place to be. Let's just put it that way. So I have the trust essentially is entirely foreign from the entity called United States. So even in the United States Code, they talk about this, and they're very clear about this. What kinds of trusts and how the trusts have to be set up, and what kind of citizenship status that the trustees have to have in order for the United States government to have jurisdiction over a foreign trust for summons and subpoenas. And they literally just tell you right in the United States Code. So, yeah, I've been studying a lot, and now it's really nice. I don't have payroll. I don't have payroll taxes. I don't have a federal income tax liability, so I don't even file a tax return. There are no state taxes. I don't have a state tax liability, and I'm also sales tax exempt. So any of my vendors that I work with, it's all sales tax exempted, and it's all through trusts.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you help other people do this as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't work for people, but I just teach for free online. Everything's free. So I just teach everything that I do. I try to teach it, you know, as much as I can. I try to just teach everything. And yeah, that's what I do. I just teach, and I just post it online for free, and I go on shows like this probably 5 times a week. And, you know, I have a law firm, so I do like major litigation, but we pretty much are just specializing right now in securities and negotiable instruments and stuff like that. We're not really getting into any other areas of law besides financials. So we're basically a finance specific, hardcore, offensive litigation office. That's basically all we do is hardcore offensive financial litigation.
Who would be a typical friend that would come to you for help?
Come to me for help for like just well, I don't really do a lot of one-on-one stuff so much anymore. I pretty much just do like the hardcore litigation, but I have so much content online, and I have so many different shows that I'm on, and I have so many different things that I'm doing, that most of the information is available online or will be at some point. You know, it's just a process, but I don't really work with anyone one-on-one for things like, I mean, I'll build a trust and stuff like that, but that's not really what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm trying to mainly just focus on like the litigation and stuff like that.
Could you get more specific on what that means? Who are you litigating?
Currently we have 4 cases going. We have one with Compass Realty, and then one of their franchisees. His name is Dan Hollerman. We have another case with Wings Financial, which is a banking institution. We have another case with AG Texas Farm Financial, which is another banking institution. And then we have my case that I am in the driver's seat with, and that's for American Express. So it's all banking institutions. It has to do with going after. So every mortgage and every business loan on the entire planet is completely fraudulent. And if you would like to turn around and you would like to put war paint on and lock and load and run towards the banks, you can get all of your mortgages, all of your loans discharged, and you can also be paid very, very large sums of money as damages just for them issuing you a loan. It's all illegal, highly illegal. And even if you didn't want to hire me, I post all my lawsuits online, and I have a video that's coming out literally like in it today or tomorrow or the next day, which is going to be a training video on how you can use the online Pacer system. and you can create a free login, and you can type in any case number, and you can find case numbers. I show you how to find case numbers, how to type in case numbers, and you can actually pull up everything that's ever been filed into any case. So we actually, on the video, we pull up the Wesley Snipes case, and we go through it, and there's 602 submissions into the case, all the way down the whole docket, right? And you can download anything from any docket, from any court case, for 10 cents per page. So in America, in North America, or however you want to say it, United States of America, all court cases are all like basically public UFC fights. So anyone can get into the docket and download anything from any of the various submissions into the docket. So you could go into my cases and you could just download all of the submissions into the case, and you can read everything for yourself. And there's nothing I or anybody else could do to stop you anyway. So I don't see why people shouldn't know this information. So there's a lot of people who are just taking a lot of what I do and just duplicating it, which is okay. I mean, first off, there's nothing I can do about it. And second off, I don't really care. And third off, I think this is a really good way to change the way in which the financial and banking system operates. Because when we have 20 or 30 or 40,000 people that are all filing all their own lawsuits, and there's no bar cards, because a lot of the bar cards, they just call it their other bar card buddies. And they're able to do backroom deals and all this. So when you go in there, what's called pro se or sui juris, depending on how you want to say it, doesn't really matter. But when you go in there, first off, they can't financially exhaust you. So a lot of people, when they get into litigation, you can be financially exhausted through having to pay your attorney for the next 10 years, right? When you run your own cases, but that's not an issue. You pay the $405 to get the case started, and that's pretty much it. You could go 10 years if it has to go 10 years. And even when you file the case, you can file a case what's called in propria pauperis, which is basically a petition to the court saying, look, I've been harmed, but I don't have the money to start this case. I don't have the $405. And oftentimes the court will look over the case to make sure that it's not some, gibbering psychopathic whatever. And as long as it has some coherency to it and it's somewhat realistic, they'll actually defer the payment of the case, and they'll defer the payment of having to serve the documents to a later date. And you can actually get started on your lawsuit, no money down. So there's a lot of exciting things happening, a lot of beauty here. And then so we're going after some mortgages. We have a guy who's actually onboarding with us right now, and he has 7 mortgages. And we're going to go after, not only are we going to go after every single quote unquote lender, because they never lended anybody anything. That's totally a lie. But we're also going to be going after the county, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We've never gone after a county before in litigation. So I'm very excited about going after a county. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. So that's going to be a whole new level of fun. But we were
like you have balls of steel sometimes, eh?
You what?
Let's make you feel like you have balls of steel sometimes.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
just knowing these things from a language perspective, right? Like how words are utilized to fool us is incredible once that veil gets pulled off.
Yeah.
And having the knowledge that you have around that and how it is used against us and how it actually can be turned the other way to our benefit when you really understand the rules.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very, very empowering. You realize that, the simplicity of how the financial system works is in 1933, they took away all the gold and silver coins in America through what's called the Emergency Banking Act. And, that was what was considered lawful money. And to this day, it still is, right? So since 1933, the Gold Abrogation Act, we haven't really been able to legally pay for anything, because the way that gold and silver coins are defined in Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, that's what we're supposed to be using as tender of payment of debts. Tender means offer. So the only thing we're really allowed to offer anyone in satisfaction of a debt in America is gold and silver coins, right? So when those gold and silver coins were removed, what happened was in the 1933 Banking Act, what they did is they gave every single person in America and in the United States of America the infinite ability to have credit. And the definition of the word credit, which is very few people know the definition of the word credit. It's very simple. It's permission to defer payment or performance to a later date. So what's happening is that we all have the right. It's actually a right since 1933. It's not a privilege. It's a right. We have the right since 1933 to defer. So before 1933, the idea of performance when it comes to financials was to tender, which means to offer unconditionally gold and silver coins. And now, after 1933, the way that we perform, payment and performance actually means the same thing in a legal dictionary. So people think payment means to send in Federal Reserve notes. It has absolutely nothing to do with Federal Reserve notes at all. Federal Reserve notes are almost completely irrelevant. I don't even know what the quote currency of Canada is, but it's irrelevant. It means nothing. But the only way that you can perform since 1933 is by deferring performance. It's kind of insane. So hence we're in an insane society, right? So the only way that you can perform is by deferring performance. There's no other way that we can perform. It's physically impossible. So the thing is that so for example, when you have the promissory note associated with a mortgage, so what happens is the way in which you sign the note determines the way that you are performing on the note. It's called an endorsement, right? So when you sign the promissory note with just your name, what's happening is that you are performing, but you're performing with what's called a blank endorsement, which means that you are unconditionally releasing that instrument, right? Now, what the banks do is they take that blank endorsed instrument and they put what's called a special endorsement on it. And I can actually show you guys some special endorsements if you want to approve a screen share. Because it's pretty cool, actually, how this works. Because I'll show you the entire ins and outs as to how you can sue any mortgage company or banking institution for literally anything, and you can just make like $15 million, get free houses, the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you go to
at least for the next couple weeks while the banks still have liquidity.
Yeah, well, things are getting interesting, right?
Yeah.
So when you just sign with your name all by itself, I'll show you UCC 3 Cornell. So if we go into UCC Article 3, which is everything you need to know about negotiable instruments, we have here 3-205, the special endorsement, the blank endorsement, right? And you can see here it's spelled differently than what people are used to. INDORSEMENT, right? So a blank endorsement is an endorsement that does not state a payee. And you can see that in UCC 3 Cornell. I think it's 2-205. No, it's 3- Oh, give me just 1 second here. Payable to bearer or to order. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, it's this one here. So the way that these things work, so you know, a negotiable instrument is defined as either a unconditional promise to pay or an unconditional order to pay. And you can see that here in 3-104. So it's not money, it's negotiable instrument. That's what you have in your wallet. So, okay, so what the hell is that, right? It's an unconditional promise or order to pay, right? So the word note means promissory note. So what we have here in the United States of America is we have Federal Reserve notes. That's why it has the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. So the Treasury is the debtor, and the Federal Reserve is the creditor, and it's actually a promissory note document. That's actually what a Federal Reserve note is, right? And you guys have some similar version of that in Canada.
Canadian bank notes is what they're called here.
They're called what?
Canadian bank notes.
Yeah. So whenever you see that word note means that it's not money, it's a negotiable instrument. And of the two types of negotiable instrument, a promise to pay or an order to pay, it is the promise to pay category. Promissory note. So if you go into the Bill of Exchange Act, you can see those definitions very, very clearly at the top of the Bill of Exchange Act. You see here, it says, and this is also a lot of information about how all this works. The Bill of Exchange Act is also a great spot, but you have note. Bill means bill of exchange, and note means promissory note. So when you get a bill in the mail, that word bill, whenever you see the word bill, you can go because that means bill of exchange. And whenever you see the word note, you can go that means promissory note. And these are the only two types of negotiable instruments that there are. There are only two types. Okay. So a promissory note, the way that a promissory note works is that when you sign the thing, you're endorsing it. INDORSEMENT. And when you don't state any information on your signature, you're signing it in blank. So that means that it's a blank check. It's there's no conditions. There's no stipulations in terms of the creation of this instrument, right? And you can see it here. A promise or order is payable to bearer if it does not state a payee. So when you don't state the payee of the instrument, it's payable to just literally whoever grabs it and wants it, right? And by issuing it back to the bank, you basically, what you're doing is you're saying, I don't want this. Anyone who wants this can have it. And the bank says, well, shit, I want it. And what they do is they put a special endorsement on it. So we actually had a bunch of people go out and grab all their mortgages. And these are actually from people's actual mortgages. This is what the special endorsement looks like when the bank grabs the document, grabs the negotiable instrument from you after you sign it in blank. This is what they're putting on it. Okay. So the way that this works is the term without recourse. If you look that up, what does without recourse mean? So it's a phrase that means that you can never have any legal claim against that other party, right? It's specifically for negotiable instruments, a negotiable instrument phrase, and you can look up what it means. And it means that, you know, when the party receiving payment on a negotiable instrument, such as a promissory note or a check, assumes no liability or responsibility for any future claims or disputes related to the instrument. So it's basically like saying, you know, once you guys take this and process it, that's it. You can never, ever come back to me again for absolutely any reason. Without recourse is pretty cool. If you sign any promissory note, if you signed a mortgage without recourse, you never, ever, 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 ever legally have to make a payment, ever. And there's literally absolutely nothing the mortgage company can do about it.
Wow.
So does that mean just adding that statement to where you're putting your signature?
Yep. You would just say without recourse. And then below that, you would just sign your name. I'm going to teach you some other ways to endorse, but that's one way you can endorse, right? Is you just write without recourse.
Wow.
If you write without recourse on anything, you never have to pay for it.
Oh my Lord.
Awesome.
And I'll teach you how that works. It's actually very simple, but there's more you have to understand it to know how that works. I mean, you can just do it, but I'm telling you, it's better to know how things work than just doing shit without knowing how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So the banks, they put without recourse on here, and then you can see here, if you look at a check, if you pull up an image of a check, or if you look in your checkbook, you'll see this is what the check has to have. It has to have these bare minimum things. And you can see all this information in the Bill of Exchange Act. It teaches you in the Bill of Exchange Act all the things that a check or draft has to have in order to be a check or draft, right? This wording, pay to the order of, literally, I believe, pay to the order. Oh, maybe not. But there's actual that comes from actual laws, so like that, very old laws as to how that wording is, right? But if you look on your checkbook, it says pay to the order of, and you write the payee here, right? You've heard of a blank check. Blank check is a check that does not state a payee. Same thing when you sign a promissory note without stating the payee, right? So pay to the order of is the same language you can write in the signature slot on a promissory note. And that's what the banks are doing. Pay to the order of Wells Fargo Bank, comma, N.A. And again, this is a mortgage promissory note, just to keep in mind. By line, signature here. And then below that, it's the name of the person who is signing, comma, and then that person who is signing's position or title. Okay. And this is the basic outline of what is called a special endorsement. Special endorsement is defined in that same section, 3-205. And we have here, and if the endorsement identifies a person to whom it makes the endorsement payable, it is a special endorsement. So if it states the payee, it's a special endorsement. If it doesn't state the payee, it's a blank endorsement, right? So what they're doing is you're signing in blank, and then they're signing with special. Now, what they do is they take this, they're claiming this instrument now, and they're saying that what they're saying in this, in normal English terms, is when you process this promissory note, you could never come back to us for any non-payment or non-performance or anything. You can't legally come after us. You can't do anything if you process this. That's the first thing they're saying. Then they're saying that the proceeds of this promissory note, when we process it, will be paid out to this payee named Wells Fargo Bank N.A. Myself, Jackie Mueller, is the person who's approving this particular special endorsement, and here's my signature. And that's what this is in normal English terms, okay? Now, what they do is they take that promissory note, and as per 12 U.S.C. 412, they write what's called an application for notes. And it says here, application for notes, collateral required, right? And basically what it says here is you can write an application for notes, and you can take any collateral security, and they say right in 12 U.S.C. 412, collateral securities can be, the collateral security thus offered shall be notes, drafts, bills of exchange, acceptances, all sorts of good stuff, right? So what they do is they take so you blank endorsed the promissory note, they special endorse the promissory note, and now they're placing that promissory note as collateral security at the Federal Reserve window in exchange for Federal Reserve notes as per 12 U.S.C. 412, right? So we go online, we type in Federal Reserve discount window, and they have a fucking website. This is not secret, okay? And this is the window that they take your promissory note for your mortgage, and they exchange the value of that promissory note. That promissory note is literally money. It's currency per the wording, but that promissory note has the same value in law as a Federal Reserve note. So you signed and brought a $500,000 or $1 million or $1.5 million security into existence, and then you donated it to the bank. The bank goes and they exchange the value of that promissory note at the Federal Reserve discount window using an application for notes, and they collateralize your note. Now, the thing that's going to piss you off the most about this whole process is they're getting paid the full maturity value of the entire note. So if you get a $300,000 mortgage and it has 5% interest over 30 years, and at the end you're going to pay $520,000 on the loan, when they swap that note at the window, they're not getting $300,000 in Federal Reserve notes. They're getting $520,000 in Federal Reserve notes. So then when they get the $520,000 in Federal Reserve notes, they pay the seller of the home the $300,000 required, and then now you are on the hook to pay back the bank the entire another $520,000. So they already made $220,000 instantaneously on the loan, and then now they're going to make another $520,000 when you pay back the loan. But that's not what they do. What they do is they offload the loan, usually within 30 or 60 days. Most people have noticed this and never wondered why. They sell the loan to their buddies at 70% discount. So what they do is they take a $520,000 loan and they sell it for, let's say, 70%. So they make $364,000 plus the $220 they already made when they exchange it at the window. So literally within 30 to 60 days, they offload that loan and they've made $584,000 on that loan.
Wow.
And when you sue them, you can sue them for all sorts of damages. You can sue them for criminal acts. You can sue them for all. So we're going for 15, 20 million plus full discharge of the house, plus a full refund of every single payment that was ever made on the mortgage since the loan's inception.
Wow.
Epic.
Epic.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
And Brandon, Jim spent how many years in the mortgage industry?
I was in it 4 years. I did $1.3 billion in mortgages in a very short time. But here's the story I want to tell more than anything. And I repent for that. Anyway, so
we all learn.
Exactly. Now I'm doing it the exact opposite way. So we don't have any debt on any of these houses, thanks to my partners and a lot of thoughtful, creative ways to do things. And we built 11 homes here. 9 of them are finished. And we did not ask for permission publicly. We're in trust and we do not pay taxes publicly. We have stated on 100 to 200 podcasts that I am a free man and I am not going to comply with any form of force and violence because all contracts done under deception are invalid.
Yeah.
And here's the best part. Back a couple months ago, I got a call from my partner here. He said, Jim, there's a guy with a badge asking for permits for these houses. I took a deep breath. I'm like, I've been waiting for this guy. So anyway, I walked up to him and I filmed the conversation. I have my camera on and I said, just so you know, I'm filming this. My name's Jim Gale. And what's your name? He answered by giving his name. And then I said, how did you get permission to come on our property? It's posted. Implied consent is not granted. It's revoked. And I cite case law on several places before entering. And he said, I'll leave. And the way he said it, I kind of liked the guy. You know, he had good energy. So I said, well, before you go, let me share with you what we're all about. 20 minutes later, this is relevant, so I'll share this part of it. I said, what your system and government will allow me to do and even subsidize is destroying the world. The use of poisons and glyphosate and insane practices that cause massive destruction to our earth and humanity. Said, we're not doing it that way. We're doing a food forest. We're completely off grid. We create all of our own food, water, and energy on site. It's paradise. And I'm not a farmer either because nature's way is infinitely abundant. So we don't have to be farmers. We could just be harvesters once we design and install the proper systems. Anyway, 20 minutes later, he left. At one point, he had tears in his eyes, and he's now a supporter.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was amazing. And we've told that story a lot, and a lot of people are starting to have the courage to start taking a stand. And with your detailed information, that's why I'm so excited about this conversation. We're going to share the heck out of it because you have some details that add layers of confidence to what I am doing.
Yeah. I feel like, I always tell people the same thing. The information is one thing, but charisma and the ability to share and the ability to be calm is always going to be more powerful. But the information can help bring about that sort of emotional clarity and stability, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a quick question. So Wesley Snipes, is he still in jail? He went to jail, right?
I don't know. I don't know if he's still in jail. I don't think so.
But
I think he went to
went.
jail for a few years.
Okay. So
He didn't go for a long time.
All right. The question I had is, I bet he screwed up on multiple levels, but what's the primary thing that he screwed up with? And I think I might know the answer, but I don't know for sure.
We this new video I have coming out on how to use Pacer and how to go through dockets and stuff like that. We just for fun, I got into his case. There's 602 filings into the case, and there's an appeals case too that I didn't even look at, which has another probably God knows how many. So I don't know. I haven't dug through everything. I haven't really dug through anything actually. But the way I look at it is, I have like a normal presentation that I normally do on these shows that go through nationality and taxation and that kind of thing, which we can do if you want to. It takes me about 45 minutes, but the simple fact is, a lot of this information 15 years ago when he was going through all this, it just wasn't around. It just wasn't available. I mean, a lot of this information and a lot of this stuff and this whole explosion of common law and legal knowledge and legal interest has happened over the past couple of years.
Yep.
Even when I started studying it, I started studying all this stuff in 2021 in September. Even then I couldn't find hardly anything. I was buying books and stuff like that and reading them because online there was almost nothing. And now there's a new account popping up almost every single day teaching this information.
I love it. I bet he hired a lawyer.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, that's he had a whole team of lawyers. Yeah. Which is a big mistake.
Yeah,
but beyond that, beyond that is that's why. Well, it's funny because you say that. I'm a lawyer, blah blah blah. Well, so just to be clear, I'm not an attorney at law. I'm an attorney in fact. Totally different operation. The way that works, right?
Wow.
So, and I clear up how that works and how it's different and all the details on my website in great detail. So, the way that works is that so my clients sign a power of attorney with me, and then they go pro se in the court, and then we're just helping them, but they're the one in the driver's seat. Yeah. So on paper, they don't have an attorney. I'm an attorney in fact for them, but that's not really so. An attorney in fact is just a pure contract-based attorney. So it's sort of like what you were saying. That's 100% true. No one can, even in the United States Code, 15 USC 1, it's up to $100 million for restricting commercial flow. $100 million for restricting commercial flow, right? So the ability to contract is infinite. Both Canada and United States of America operate entirely off that. And it's actually very empowering because you realize that you're actually willingly and voluntarily contracting into all these things without really totally knowing it, right? So a purely contract-based attorney that's not a bar card holding, whatever, is called...
What does the bar mean, quickly? Sorry.
Say it again.
What does the bar mean?
It means British Accreditation Regency, but there's going to be a lot of people who say that's not true. It's basically just a group that it's a club basically. It's like a Lions Club essentially is what it is. People think that it's a legal structure where they give out like licenses to people, and if they don't have this particular license, then they can't practice law. But then you got to think, first off, what's the definition of practice law? That's a very interesting long conversation. What's the definition of giving legal advice? People don't realize that the actual legal definition of giving legal advice means that you are assisting someone in a factual, personal situation that they are dealing with.
Wow.
So if you talk about law in general, and you're not, like if someone comes on your show and it's a Q&A and they say, I'm in a situation where I lost my kids and there's the CPS and what do I do? And you start telling them what they should do, that would be legally classified as legal advice, right? Now, I don't really care. I'll give legal advice all day long because I don't actually legally live in the United States. So it doesn't really matter. But my point is that these words and these phrases and all these things actually have real meaning, right? Like practicing law, right? It has an actual meaning, right? So a bar card, or the bar, essentially what it is it's this completely voluntary club, basically. A bar card is a club card. It's like a Costco card.
A liar's club, like you.
It's a Costco card, literally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And people say, like, you know, and it's really goofy. It's like a driver's license. It's like they go into the courtroom with their bar card, and they think the bar card is needed in order to practice law. And if they step outside of the boundaries of what the bar says they're allowed to do, the judge or the bar can threaten to take away their bar card, which makes them think they can't practice law. But it's all just an illusion. It's just a Costco. So as an attorney, in fact, you have the infinite ability to contract, and you can be involved in any commercial contract, and no one can stop you from any commercial contract under any circumstances, right? It's very clear in the law. So if you pay me anything and we sign a power of attorney agreement, I am now your attorney in fact. We have a contractual contract. And that contract essentially is senior to all local laws and that kind of thing. Contracts are the Lord in all the law, right? So the thing is that I can't represent someone in a court of law. But the problem is that when you are represented in a court of law, if you look up the definition of client and you look up the relationship of represent, how that works is, in order to be represented, you must be a child or person of unsound mind. That is the definition of client in law.
Wow.
So the way that an attorney at law relationship actually works on the technical level is, you're saying that I don't have the ability to present myself, I don't have the ability to communicate myself, and I can't defend myself as a human being because I am a child or infant or person of unsound mind. The attorney at law then presents on your behalf, because basically the way it works is you cannot physically present yourself. The problem with that situation is that once you lock yourself into that condition, you can no longer exert your rights, because infants and persons of unsound mind don't have rights. That's why they have to be represented by an attorney.
Wow.
So you're paying someone to become retarded.
Epic.
Now, when you hire an attorney, in fact, it's the complete opposite. You're the one who's saying, I'm presenting myself, but I'm scared. I don't understand the process that much. I need assistance. So you sign a contract called a power of attorney, and that power of attorney lays out all of the nitty-gritty details, and you and your attorney can write that contract in any way you see fit. When that contract is submitted into the court will abide by the power of attorney and will allow the power of attorney, but you're the one who's two entirely different relationships, two entirely different attorney relationships.
And it's beautiful to know the difference.
Yeah.
Man, thank you for what you're doing. This is just exciting to share everywhere and help people see that we've been deceived on so many levels. And by awareness, and only through awareness of the deception, can we choose the right path.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very empowering, because even the bar cards think that they need their bar cards. It's hilarious. Because they don't. You literally don't need a license. You don't need legal schooling. You don't need a degree. You could just be literally homeless, and you could represent or help someone present themselves in a court of law using a power of attorney. Anyone can do it. It's the same way, like, you know, grandma's getting old, so you want to help her out and legally, and then the attorney has you sign a power of attorney between you and grandma.
Yeah.
So you would literally sign documentation on behalf of grandma as attorney in fact. So like a conservatorship, things that people are more familiar with. It's the same operation. You can do the same thing with literally anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone
Amazing.
can give you power of attorney.
Yeah. That's amazing. Attorney, in fact. Have you had your days in court?
No.
They don't want they don't want to go to court with you, right? That would just destroy them. Is that correct?
I don't know. Everything so far, we're 2 months deep on some of these cases, and I was on the phone one time with a couple bar cards, and we screamed at each other, and that was it. Ever since then, it's just been everything's been paper. It's just all paper. Everything's just paper. The first case has 20 something filings into the docket. The second case has 15 or 20 something filings in the docket, and then the fourth case, the Amex case, has 28 filings in the docket. And it's just all paper, and it's just all goes to the judge now.
Yeah.
So it's literally just everything's been pushed to the judges, and they're going to determine what the next step is. But nothing has gone anywhere. There's been all the bar cards are just having 10 heart attacks, and they start to attack me on a personal level and attack my reputation. And they're putting pictures of my website in there and all this. And it's just funny. I have a new word for it. From these shows I've been doing recently, and I really enjoy it very much. So for bar cards, so bar cards are really anxious and nervous about two things. First off, they're nervous about their bar card, which is hilarious because they don't need it. It's the funniest thing in the world. The bar card relationship with their bar card is probably one of the most humorous things I've ever seen in my life. They are so nervous about losing their bar card, and they literally don't need it at all. It's all an illusion. Okay.
Wow.
But that's the first thing. The second thing is what's called billables. So bar cards, what they want to do is anything that they can just move shit around, move paper around, create documents, anything they can do to justify them having to work is called billables. And typically, whether it's actually effective or not, as long as they can justify having to do some work, they're pretty happy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what I call most of the stuff that gets filed into my cases so far is I call it irrelevant billables. And I really like that term. And I'd love to have people using that on a very regular basis. I'd like that to be promulgated into the society very thoroughly. Irrelevant billables. I think that'll be a very effective term moving into the future on a lot of this stuff, because it's just a tremendous amount of irrelevant billables.
Can you define that again so we really get it?
So it's just it's stuff that's filed into the case that doesn't have anything to do with the original complaint or the merits of the case, and it's just stuff that's just made up and done and submitted into the case to justify billing their client.
Yep.
Irrelevant billables, right?
Yeah, I love it.
It's a beautiful term. I think it's going to piss off a lot of bar cards. So I'm
that is exposure to the max.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. Regarding these judges, because that's another layer of getting kind of past some unethical systems and people. Are there any veiled or direct consequences to the judge if that you make apparent if they don't do the right thing according to the contract and so on?
Yeah. So the way that works is, and I'm new to all this, but I do know some of this theoretically, but I haven't lived it yet. I'm going to very soon. So basically, the way it works is, whenever you have a case and you're working on the case, objections. I don't know exactly how it all works, but objections essentially are like big flags that go in the ground. And when it goes to the appeals court, those flags is what they're looking for, right?
Yes.
So you have to make sure that you work well with the judge, and you don't want to make the judge your enemy. A lot of people that do what I do make the judge their enemy. That's a very bad move, right? So you want to. There's a lot of good diplomatic relations with the judge, and you want to work everything out really well. But if it does go south, what you want to do is you want to put an objection on the record, and you want to put like a request for reconsideration. So you can be like, objection, you should really reconsider this. And then the judge will realize when he sees that, oh shit, like this guy knows how the appeals process works. And then at that point, they might get a little bit like, oh, okay, actually, maybe we can reconsider this, because if he doesn't, now you're going to go to the appeals court, and the appeals court can discipline the judge if the judge went off the rocker too much.
Yep. So at some level, we need to get to ethics. and we don't know, based on the county and the city and the state that we're at, we don't know where that level is, right? But we're starting to bust through these levels, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning all this, so like I said, I have 4 cases. It's all just paper. So when it comes to filing a case, working with Pacer, filing, motions, filing declarations, filing affidavits, filing an evidence, filing an opposition, these things I know personally now at this point. But like things like moving the case into discovery or moving into an appeals court, or we're also studying how to get indictments written and approved through DAs so we can actually get criminal cases going on some of these things. There's a lot of things that I haven't done myself, but I've been studying a lot of too. So it's just there's multiple lines of research here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow, man. Well, any other particular things? It's getting to be close to the hour, but any other particular things that you'd like to share with our audience? I'm going to share this with a lot of my friends and with our network. And I encourage everybody to go to your website and just to look around and start realizing that now is the time to take a stand against the insanity, the layers and layers and layers of lies that our society has been faced with over a long, long time. So first, thank you. And then what can we do to help bring people one step closer?
Yeah, I just I can do a screen share real quick and just go through like a super 5-minute. So I have a normal presentation that I usually do on nationality and citizenship and taxation.
And I'd love to bring you back on, Jim, if you're up for that too. Bring him back on to do that specific presentation sometime.
Oh yeah, sure, I'd love to, but I can do like a little micro version now, because I'm on shows like 5 days a week, and this is the presentation I give literally everywhere. So the financial stuff is not the one that I actually do as often, but that's the one I kind of did with you guys. But if you want to find this full presentation, you can find it on my YouTube. You can find it everywhere. So it's very, very easy to find, but I'll give you the ultra short version of it. If you go to 28 USC 3002 and you go down to subsection 15, you're going to find out the definition of the term United States. Means a federal corporation. Okay. United States is a corporation. And if you go to find out the definition of the word person, which is probably the most important word in all of law, the term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. We're going to find out. So we've already found out that United States is a person, right?
Wow.
That's why, and it's very easy to prove, because on a lawsuit, you have United States versus John Doe. United States is a person. They'll tell you right in the jurisdiction and venue section of the lawsuit, if you read the first part, that United States is a person. They'll literally say that in like plain English. We have the location of this person is found in UCC 9-307, location of United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. Now, we don't know where, though. We don't know where. We have no idea where in the District of Columbia. We don't know what size. We don't know what shape. We have no idea. We just know it's somewhere in the District of Columbia. So people sometimes say, well, I was born in the District of Columbia. Does that mean I was born in the United States? I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. It's in the United States. We don't know where. So then we have, how do you get there? How do you get to United States? If no one knows where it is and it's somewhere in the District of Columbia, how do you get there? And it's a very simple answer. This is going to shock you. You think the financial stuff is shocking. You naturalize there. And the term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state upon a person after birth by any means whatsoever. 8 USC 1101 subsection A23. So if right here live on this show, I said I, Brandon Joe Williams, confer the nationality of Antarctica on Brandon Joe Williams after birth by any means whatsoever, I just naturalized live on the show to Antarctica.
Wow.
You live where you say you live, and you can't physically live in the United States. You can only naturalize into the United States. So you weren't a U.S. citizen until you said you were a U.S. citizen. Once you said you were a U.S. citizen, you naturalized into the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is not a part of the United States of America. The Second Amendment, the First Amendment, and all of your rights do not apply in a foreign incorporated zone. It's basically a giant business, the way that the District of Columbia is established. It's not one of these states.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I stand by this deep sentiment of freedom, this knowing that I am a free man upon the land. Yeah. So would it make sense then I am naturalized as a free man living in St. Cloud, Florida?
Well, so what they did is they also created corporations called State of Florida, State of California, State of Texas, State of Utah, right? And the thing is that those aren't the original names of these states. Yeah. Like, for example, the original name of California is the California Republic. That was the original legal name. The original legal name for Texas was the Republic of Texas. Yeah. The original legal name for Tennessee was the Southwest Territory. The original legal name for something like Vermont or the little tiny little states that you see on the upper right, they typically were crown colony of, and then the name of the state. That was the original name because they were crown colonies, right? Yeah. So when you naturalize or confer the nationality of State of Florida upon yourself after birth by any means whatsoever, that's actually a corporation listed on Dun & Bradstreet as a business located in the District of Columbia.
All right, so forget that.
Canada is the exact same.
Canada is the exact same. So Canada is a business that is located in the District of Columbia.
Yes.
Wow.
That's the way it works.
Like mad.
So when you confer nationality on anything, you got to remember too is that the definition of a person is an estate, a trust, a partnership, an association. So you can confer nationality on yourself as the individual. You can confer nationality on your trusts. You can confer nationality on a company, a business, a corporation, an estate. You can confer nationality. You have to be very careful to make sure that you realize and understand the words that are coming out of your mouth when you do confer nationality of a state, because the words that come out of your mouth literally instantaneously determine the location of where that person is located. So if you sign a document such as voter registration, you'll see right on it, it says that you are a resident of State of Florida. Voter registration is the whole purpose of voter registration is to naturalize you into the District of Columbia. Yeah. So when you say that you are a resident of the unincorporated Florida territory, it's a completely different statement.
I am a steward of Galt's Landing. I am a free man upon the land, period.
Yeah, you would just say, I confer the nationality of the unincorporated Florida territory upon myself after birth by any means whatsoever. And if anyone tries to get you to sign anything that says that you are a resident of State of Florida, you would say, whoa, I can't sign that. That'd be perjury. I can go to prison. That's a felony. I can't sign that.
What if we have? About a year ago, I was asked to run for mayor of Orlando. And after a 48-hour campaign, which was going really well, the lawyer said, wait a minute, you've never registered to vote. You've never voted. You can't even run for the mayor. And the only reason I wanted to do it is just to have a stage to talk about how we change the world. And anyway, and then I thought about it. I thought, well, I want to at least be able to play this game and turn it around. And I signed the damn registration to be a registered voter. Now, what do I do with that?
Just cancel the voter registration.
Okay, simple.
Very easy.
Just send a thing. Okay, I'll find out how to do that. I'll get that sent in.
Yeah, very easy.
Beautiful.
Your driver's license is the same thing, by the way. You signed that you are a resident of state of Florida to get a driver's license.
Yes.
So you naturalized into the District of Columbia when you got a driver's license. So you didn't need the driver's license until you got the driver's license. You had the right to travel, but then when you moved yourself legally into the District of Columbia, you no longer had the right to travel because you're no longer in America. So when you got the driver's license, now you needed the driver's license.
Man.
As a Canadian coming into the United States, could a Canadian come there and then follow some of these teachings and bring themselves able to live there and stay there?
Yeah, so this is so anyone on the planet can get a U.S. passport with very little effort. You might have to sue the Department of State. That'll be a lot of effort. But I'll show you just one thing. It's in a lot of my presentations. I break it down in more detail. But the way that U.S. passport system works, if you look at 22 USC 212, persons entitled to a passport, it says here, no passport shall be granted or issued to or verified for any other persons than those owing allegiance, whether citizens or not, to the United States. So you don't need to live in the United States at all to get a U.S. passport. You only need to pledge allegiance to the United States.
And what does pledging allegiance mean?
If you look it up in Black's Law, it means, like, let me see here.
Defend and support and be a slave to.
Let me see here. Pull it up. Allegiance.
Man, this stuff is so exciting. I want to be able to teach this to other people too, just open their eyes. I've sent so many people to your website, take that contract killer course.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the definition of allegiance is meant the obligation of fidelity and obedience which the individual owes to the government under which he lives or to his sovereign in return for the protection he receives. Now, this is the most important thing. It may be an absolute and permanent obligation, or it may be a qualified and temporary one. So when you write your Pledge of Allegiance, you can actually write the contract however you want to write it. And what's amazing to me is that we write all these custom allegiance contracts and they always approve it. I don't know. I'm not even sure they fucking read the goddamn things, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fucking awesome. So kind of what I said, defend and be a slave to.
It depends, because you're the one who defines the contract. You're the one who defines the allegiance. So if you look in my documentation that I give away for free, the way that I pledge allegiance is a way that I think most people would be okay with, which is basically where anything that would not be considered peaceful, anything that would not be considered, a nation operating with public order and decorum would not be within the confines of the allegiance being granted. It's a qualified and temporary pledge of allegiance that does not include you actively helping any sort of destructive or nefarious activities.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's badass.
So that would be your relationship in relationship to the person called the United States, and you would be issued a U.S. passport based off of that Pledge of Allegiance. And you don't get issued a passport as a citizen of the United States. You get issued a passport as a non-citizen national of the United States. And that definition comes from 8 U.S.C. 1101 subsection A22.
So I could come there with my family and get everybody one of those.
Yes.
And now have completely different jurisdiction and be able to stay in the country.
Yeah, with the passport, you don't need a driver's license. You just use the passport to operate a vehicle. You can open up bank accounts. You can get credit card processing. You can do everything with a passport.
Wow. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, thank you, Brandon.
Thanks,
This is just fantastic.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you so
stuff.
much.
Yeah, man. Well, let's keep in touch. If you're ever in St. Cloud, Florida, we are demonstrating freedom on every conceivable level. That's why we're so excited to talk with you. And we're just putting it all together to the best of our abilities.
Well, and
Thanks so
one
much,
of the
guys.
things, one of the things that for future on how we'd love to shine a light on what you're doing is our next phase of our business model is building out a platform that really provides all of the products, services, technologies, resources to give people the ability to be 100% self-sufficient in every
That's
aspect of it.
fantastic.
And it's a place where we've got those companies on the one side and then the experts, as well as the people who are looking for that information and the education around behind it. So we'd love to be able to feature you in there as one of our, go-to resources for the people that are looking for all of this stuff, and form a much deeper collaboration with what you're doing, so we can really bring this to more people. People need to
I love
know
that.
this stuff.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that so much. I'd love that.
Awesome, Brandon. And then I just want to share how we close the circle and create a new system that makes the current system obsolete. It's called the Earth Council, and these are world leaders, Joel South and Lisa Mollison, and all these people that are like top of the world in what they do, trauma experts and soil healing experts and lawful experts. And we are going to use our surplus to invest in putting food forests and regenerative agriculture systems in schools and ghettos and prisons. And by doing so, we demonstrate abundance, and abundance destroys scarcity. And when we have abundance, we destroy fear, and the whole military industrial complex fails.
I absolutely love that. That's fantastic.
It's fun. Awesome, brother. Well, thank you again.
Love you guys.
I'm glad we're connected.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, so much.
Love it. Thanks so much. Great
Thank you
show
so
today.
much. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, ciao. Have a good one.
See you later.